Hello and welcome to Euronet Plus. Today, in our monthly program with the European Policy Centre, we focus on the Greece saga between its EU partners and creditors. So last week, finally, an agreement in principle was reached about a 4-month bailout program extension. And to discuss this, I'm with Fabian Zuleeg, Director of the European Policy Centre. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome. So, after months and after weeks of failed discussions between the Eurogroup and Greece, the EU finance ministers agreed on a 4-month bailout program extension, but Greece still have to commit the list of measures to the European Central Bank, to the Eurogroup, to the IMF, and to the European Commission. So, do you think this new decision is more a process of rebuilding trust, or was already the trust broken?
Well, it certainly was important that we got an agreement. A deal was necessary at this point. It was getting quite tight in terms of timing, but I don't think this will restore trust. There are a lot of long-term issues which we still have to resolve in the Eurozone. And this deal will help us to tide over the immediate crisis. But in the long run, we still have a lot of questions to answer.
So what we have seen now is that Tsipras has changed. I mean, before the elections, its promises, he cannot keep its promises from before the election. He has to make a U-turn, we will see, to satisfy its EU partners.
Yeah, I think the problem for Greece has always been that its negotiation position was weaker than the rest of the Eurozone. The Greek position was in essence a threat of going out of the euro. And to some extent, the other partners called that bluff. They said, if you really want to go out, go out. And it will cost Greece far more than it will cost the rest of the Eurozone. So in the end, the Greek government had to climb down, also because nobody in Greece really wants a Grexit. So they got very little from the kind of things which they promised in the pre-election period.
But he had no other choice.
He has no other choice. Without the support from the Eurozone partners, Greece would be very quickly bankrupt. I do not see that leaving the euro would solve the fundamental issues which Greece is facing. Greece would have to default on its debt and would be a very much impoverished country in the future.
But especially tackle tax evasion and shrink the civil service, this will be nearly impossible, I mean, in a so short term.
Indeed, to tackle those structural issues, it would take years. Certainly, they can make a beginning. They can show that they are serious about it, but it's not something which promises quick returns.
So, in few months, what can really Tsipras do?
Well, I think he can show that he has had some success at the European level, not everything he wanted to have. He can start some of the reforms, but in the end, we shouldn't forget whatever deal we have at the moment, it does not solve the fundamental problems of the Eurozone. It doesn't solve the issues of differences in competitiveness between different countries, and it does not solve the fundamental problem of Greece with its structural weaknesses. So in the end, this deal helps us to survive for the moment, but it is not a long-term fix for the problems we are facing.
So after this 4-month bailout program extension, Greece will also negotiate a third program. How do you expect this?
Greece is still in a very weak negotiation position. In the end, Greece needs the support from the partners. If Greece manages to get allies on board, in particular countries like France, like Italy, potentially some of the other program countries, then I think they can make a difference. At the moment, they've been very much isolated. So if that stays the same, then in 4 months' time, they will also achieve very little.
And is a Grexit possible?
A Grexit will remain on the agenda. It won't happen in the near future, but in the long run, if the fundamental problems of the Greek economy are not solved, there will be pressure from within Greece to say that in the end, maybe a Grexit is less painful. I don't believe that is true, but I think politically that question is not going to go away.
Because even Germany doesn't want a Grexit.
Nobody wants Grexit at the moment, not the new government, not the creditor countries, because we all know that in the end it imposes huge costs on everyone involved, more costs on Greece than on the other partners, but it's a huge cost on everybody. So we should try to avoid Grexit, but the political trends might still lead us to a situation where it becomes difficult to keep Greece in the euro.
Thank you, Fabian, for coming. And thank you for watching us, and see you next month for another program with the European Policy Center. Bye.